There are two things that are going to happen when trying to build your personal brand or when building your personal brand. You're either going to do it intentionally or you're going to end up building your personal brand by neglect. And I heard a perfect analogy that kind of explained this beautifully, which was by Myron Golden. And he said, if you build your personal brand by neglect, then it becomes this weed in other people's garden. But if you choose to build your brand with intent, then it becomes this fragrant flower in the gardens of other people. And so you want to be intentional because if you leave it up to neglect, you're basically leaving your personal brand up by chance. And a narrative that may be created about you, your personal brand, may not be one that you want to have out there being narrated. And I'm so excited to talk about this topic of personal branding just because if you've been listening to previous episode, the BOWpod is all about the legacy that you are leaving behind or wanting to leave behind and being intentional about the body of work that you put out into the universe. And so it's kind of almost it was inevitable that at a given point I'm going to be talking about this idea of building a personal brand. And again, I'm just super excited to just dive into it. But before I go any further on why I feel like it's important right now to be more intentional about your personal brand and what's being built, we have to ask ourselves the question, but what is even a personal brand? And if you go on the internet, if you go on Google and you type in personal brand, I'm pretty sure you're going to find hundreds of explanations on what a personal brand is. But there was one simple explanation that I liked, and this is the first one I want to lead with. And then after leading with this one, I'm going to give you a bit of a deeper explanation on or description as to what I really love about the idea of personal brand. And so the simplest description to understand what a personal brand is, it's reputation. It's your reputation. And if you search, the meaning of reputation, you'll find it means what someone is known for. And so your personal brand is what you are known for. So if you want to build a personal brand where you're a person of integrity, then, if you say you're going to do something, then, you do it. Or if you're not building it with intention and you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, then what you're going to be known for is someone who makes promises and doesn't keep them. But let's take it a step further because this next explanation of personal brand is one that I really, really resonated with. And it came off of a podcast that I was listening to with Chris Doe and this branding expert. His name was Marty, or his name is Marty. And he broke down brand beautifully. And he said brand, so not personal brand, but branding, that brand is a result. And the result is the gut feeling that your customers have about your product, business, or service. And I thought it was nice because it means that your logo is not necessarily your brand, or your colors of your business is not your brand, or whatever tagline that you put out. It's not necessarily what your brand is. Your brand is being created in the mind, in the heart of your customers or your potential customers. And so you can have some influence on that to a certain degree, but ultimately your customers determine the brand because it's that gut feeling they have when they think about your brand. And maybe at this point your gears are probably turning. If you think about some of the brands, that you are super excited about. Like for me, for example, one of the brands that I just love, I'm not so much into brands, but there are a couple of brands that I just love, and one of them, hands down, is Apple. And the feeling that I get from Apple is just this feeling of I'm getting something that's quality, something that's gonna last a long time, and something that's intentional and well thought out. And so you probably can think about some brands that you are super excited about, and maybe even brands that you have a negative connotation, a negative feeling. And so that's where you come to realize that, okay, brand is indeed a feeling that you have about a certain product, service, or company. Now, when I heard this, I remember I was driving in the car, I was heading Amsterdam, and I heard this and I said, okay, so if this is brand, then personal brand is something along the same lines. So then personal brand becomes, it's a result, and the result of a personal brand is the feeling that your audience, your clients, your followers get when they think about you. So not your company, not your service, not your products, but the feeling that they get when they think about you. And so then you start to think about, okay, so what is the feeling that's being created in the mind and in the hearts of your audience? And that's where I want to actually leave the explanation of what is a personal brand, because again, you want to be intentional about what is the feeling you are putting out there. So I have some notes I just want to reference really quick, just because I wanted this episode to be a little bit more structured and not too wild and all over the place. Yeah, one thing I wanted to touch on again because of that feeling. When you think about feeling, one of the quotes that came to my mind is one by Maya Angelou. And I think this supports this idea of a personal brand beautifully, where Maya Angelou said, people won't remember what you said, people won't remember what you did, but people will always remember how you made them feel. And so again, this further supports this idea of, if you want to build something intentional, have be in control of the narrative, you want to build your personal brand with intention. Now, why would you even want to place, again, the focus on, building a brand? And so some of what I have written here is, let me see. Yeah. Why you want to focus on building your personal brand is, on another podcast, I heard someone, a podcast from Omar, I think his last name is Elta Crowry, and he had this guest on, Shalene Johnson. And this was an amazing podcast. So I highly recommend just checking this out and then going full into it. But they made this claim, and they said on the podcast that your personal brand is the fastest way to build wealth. And this got me thinking, and the more I started thinking about it, I started nodding my head, like they may be onto something. And I remember hearing this analogy once of becoming a person of influence, and they were referencing, the person was referencing the Eiffel Tower in France, and how the Eiffel Tower itself doesn't generate the most money, as an attraction, or at least brings the most money into the country. But that the Eiffel Tower, generates money, but it's not the most money that's coming in. But where the most money is coming in is the businesses surrounding the Eiffel Tower are what is helping to generate the most money coming in. And then when you look at the Eiffel Tower then acts as this, let's say, key person, this person of influence that brings visitors, tourists to the country, and then the businesses are automatically who are around the Eiffel Tower, their value are automatically lifted, which helps to bring in a lot more money. And so if you are building your personal brand and you're building it to a point where you become, a person of influence, you can look at yourself as a magnet, and then everything, let's say all of the products that maybe you're surrounded by, services, your businesses, the value of those things are automatically raised. And so if you really focus on, building your personal brand and at the same time becoming this person of influence, then you can see why this may be the fastest way to wealth. And it's also one of the most, I find, charming ways to build wealth, because what more of a refined way to build something by just being yourself? Building a personal brand is all about sharing your ideas, putting your thoughts out into the universe, having an opinion on something and just sharing that with, just putting that out there. And that's why I'm such a big believer in building online, like just documenting and putting your thoughts and ideas out there as a way to, especially if you're trying to teach something, as a way to teach, and have people be inspired and to improve their own situations or whatever it is that they may be going through. Let me have a quick look. So when we think about building or becoming this person of influence, building your personal brand, some of the things that you want to focus on is, again, just putting content out there. I think that's where it begins. If you are able to let your voice be heard, whether it's actually hearing your voice or your thoughts through the written word, you just want to start by putting content out there. Other things that help you increase your influence is if you are, how do you say, oh man, I had my train of thought and now I lost it. Let me just have a quick look at my notes. No, I'm gonna end it there. Basically, with building a personal brand and becoming this person of influence, why this is such an amazing concept and idea to run with, think about, is then, again, just by being yourself and putting your thoughts out there, you become a magnet for opportunities instead of having to chase down opportunities. So I'm not gonna go on for a whole much longer, but I just wanna end this episode by saying, if you aspire to to build a business, to provide a service, and just reach a level in your life where you can do what you want, when you want, where you want, I want you to think about this idea of building your personal brand in the process. I mean, if you look at social media, I know social media has its weird negative sides, but if you look at social media and you look at people like, for example, like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Richard Branson, if you look at their brands, their businesses, 9 out of the 10 times you will see that their following, their audience size is multiple times bigger than the audience size of their companies, which I found very fascinating. And it just shows that people like people and people are interested in people. And before someone maybe buys into a certain product that you have or service that you have, or draw or feels a connection with your company, it usually starts with you. You know, they usually form some kind of a relationship or relate to you to a certain extent before they decide, like, hey, I trust this person enough to buy what they have. Because I mean, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And there was another saying, just came top of mind. I remember someone saying is that people don't do business with businesses. People do business with other people. And so that's why it's so key to realize that you have full control. Once you're aware of this concept now, you have full control as to what narrative you want to have be created and be put out there. I'm going to end it here. Again, I have so much more that I can talk about when it comes to personal branding, and I'll probably touch base on this topic again. But for now, think about this idea. Think about this concept if you haven't heard about it before. If you have questions or comments on different parts, of this episode that, maybe struck a nerve by you, or you thought like, this made a lot of sense, like, let me know. And yeah, I'm gonna continue putting content out there like this, continue improving. As you guys can see, my setup is still similar, but I have a bit more lighting, ambient stuff that's going on here. So don't be afraid to start. Make gradual improvements. Again, everything that you do it with intention, because everything that I'm doing as well, this is also intentionally where I'm taking you guys on this process of, my journey as an entrepreneur, building this podcast, growing my web design business. And, I just want to see you do the same thing, and just chase the things that will go after the things that make you curious, sparks joy by you, because I do want to see you succeed, as well as, see myself succeed as well in the process. So see you guys in the next episode, and I'm out.